like for all the times I'm figuring out.
Yeah.
There's a whole dashboard here in front of me. So
Oh,
yeah.
sounds fun.
Do you still want your name edited out?
Probably a good idea, just because like there are some people on TikTok that I would really like to not find me in real life. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, fair enough. So I'll try to edit like across the bottom,
Okay.
and
I
then I
could
will also.
also next time I can put in a different name, I think. I think
Yeah,
that's something I could do too for next
that's
time.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, that's fun. You can pick like any name you want.
Yeah, I could.
Okay, so I took a few notes, but we'll just kind of start chatting and see how it
All
goes.
right.
But let's see. Okay. Hey, Texan Rockers. I'm back with my friend from Truman State University to talk a little Bible. Um, and we're going to jump into the world of Paul and why he specifically can be such a problem for moderns who want to have faith, but I don't know, read the things he says. But
Yeah.
what did you messaged and said that it would be great if you could like Paul after we were done
Yeah.
talking?
Yeah, that would be great. I haven't been super impressed with Paul, but like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love Paul," and I'm like, "Why? Please tell me why."
I remember saying those exact words that like
Yeah.
I like Jesus and I love my faith tradition, but I'm not a big fan of Paul. In fact, he kind of makes
No.
me angry. Like I think
Okay.
he's like my gut reaction going through seminary, like
Yeah.
everyone was interested in theology and I was interested in biblical studies and midrash and stuff like that, and I was like, I think he's a hothead and he's terrible. You know,
Yeah.
he's grown on me though. I've
Okay.
done like a 180 understanding him in context. Like
Okay.
here's how I can make it tangible. Do you know how you can read the Gospels again and again, and you can be like, I like Jesus. He's really great. Seems like he's doing important things. But then the more time you spend with it, all of a sudden his personality starts to come alive, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh my gosh, I think he's actually funny, or
Yeah.
I think he just took a shot at that guy, and
Yeah.
like that was a left hook that no one expected, and I bet people were just like shocked. I bet the poor were laughing. I bet the rich were mad, and you're like, holy smokes, I actually like this person like a
Yeah.
lot. So there was the like, I'm supposed to like the Jewish Messiah who's come to save us, yes. But then there
Yeah.
was the like, oh, I see him as a person, and it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
That happened for me with Paul, but it took a long time,
Okay.
and it took understanding his context and where
Yeah.
he's progressive and where he's just not.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I'd like to know more about that for sure.
Yeah.
So, because you
So
made the comment that he's both rabbinic and a Stoic philosopher. So,
yeah, so he grew up as a kid in Tarsus. He's off of Jesus' map. He's born 10 years after Jesus, but he grew up at kind of a port city that was a hub for Stoic philosophy. So you have like the Greek philosophy and rhetoric piece of Paul. It's a hub for imperial cult and specifically Hercules worship. Like, if you want to worship Hercules, go to Tarsus, I guess, right?
okay, I
And
did not
then
know that
yeah,
about
so
Hercules.
so there's this Roman aspect of Paul, there's this Greek philosophy aspect of Paul,
Okay.
and then there's what I would call like Jewish midrashic. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is he's not just a Jew and just a Pharisee that's like concerned about the law. He's really textually smart and he's playing a lot of insider baseball. So the way he pulls the Hebrew Bible forward is a very specific flavor. And it's the
Okay.
same flavor that Jesus is going around telling stories about. Like when Jesus tells stories and everyone expects it to end one way because they're like, we've heard this story, it's in our Bible, and then he twists it just a little bit. Paul's playing a lot of those games too.
Okay.
For instance, I thought it might be fun, like down the road, to look at a passage where he basically says the rock that watered Israel in the desert was Christ, and you're like,
Yeah.
what? And
Yeah.
so you and I immediately think, okay, so Moses hit a rock, it watered Israel in the desert. Somehow Jesus must have been the spirit that made that happen, right?
Right. What
No,
did he mean? What did
not
he
for Paul.
mean?
For Paul, there's a whole like 7 stories in Midrash about this rock that rolled behind Israel, and every time they needed water, it was like, "Here I am," and they would hit it, and it would give them water, and it's like, one, impossible. Two,
Right.
it's in their story bank, and he's saying that that rock that followed Israel around, that gave them nourishment, was Jesus. So he's not only using that whole story bank that you don't have unless you study rabbinic Judaism,
Right.
but he's twisting it to say it's Jesus, and then in the passage itself, the whole thing's being leveraged to make a different point.
Okay.
So there's like layers and layers and layers of playing with the text that are really fascinating once you see that he's doing it, and really pulls the rug out from literalism. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so you have written on your blog like posts just
Hmm.
all throughout the Hebrew Bible, where there's literary borrowing going on,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Yep.
how I really like your phrase because it's easy to understand about how they take those and they put it to work to make
Yeah.
this new point, or a point nobody had really thought about before, to like move things forward.
Yeah.
And kind of like in that vein, like when I was like, oh, Paul, I've got to like study some of this and like see what I can dig up. I ran
Hmm.
across these Greek poems that
Yeah.
that he borrowed from. Like,
Yes.
like what? Like
Just the
I
fact
when
that he
I
knows it.
what's that?
Just the fact that he knows it. He's well read
Yeah,
enough in Greek poetry that he's pulling from the Bible and the
yeah,
Greek poets. That's wild.
yeah. And I mean, these are poems that I think were written to Zeus, right?
Hmm.
And it
Right.
blew my mind that like one of them, that phrase that is just so well known in Christianity, for "in you we live and move and have our being," like
Yeah.
he borrowed that.
Yeah, and we think it's beautiful. It is
Ah,
beautiful. It's beautiful poetry.
yeah,
And it's like, man, if you describe God like that, well, then I'm in, right?
yeah,
It's very, very, very Greek philosophical, and he lifted it right from the poets. Yeah.
yeah.
So you have like I think of Paul like in the center of a triangle. You have the Jewish story lore. I would call it
Mhm,
lore. It's like
mhm,
stories that they don't even care if they're true, they're tradition. Does that make
mhm.
sense? And they
Yes.
play with them. And then you have the Greek philosophy and rhetoric piece. And then you have all the Roman imperial stuff. Like
Yeah.
my first entryway into loving Paul was when I started to see him raging against the machine. Like
Okay.
the party line I had always been given on Paul is they would pull that one line from Romans and say like basically God put the Roman Empire in charge, so you should do what they say because he has the
Yep.
sword for a reason, right?
Whether they're good or bad, whether
but
they're
then
using their power or not.
but then you get under the hood of what he's writing, and he's pulled all of these phrases from the imperial cult, and he's
Okay.
flipped it so it's about Jesus. Just a statement like Christ is Lord, it's supposed to be Caesar is Lord, and everyone knows it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like the easiest example to cherry pick, but he's again and again taking things that the emperors were using to say they were divine and appropriating it to Jesus, and in doing so, he's like undermining the very claims of the empire. So I mean,
Mm,
as soon as I realized he was more like a Star Wars freedom fighter than a like,
yeah.
you know,
You're like, all
than like
right.
on Team Empire, I was like, okay, I'll hear him out a little more.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's got all those things going on, right?
Yeah.
And there's some reasons like for the way he writes the way he does, and there's some reasons for the way he argues the way he does that we'll get into when we start to grab like individual texts, like I
Mm-hmm.
thought it might just be fun to grab the texts that make us the maddest and be like,
Yeah.
what do we do with it, right?
Yeah.
But for
Well,
today, oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
for today, I made a list, and it was specifically from your comment in TikTok that you want to see if you can like Paul by the end of it.
All right.
And I wrote things I think most modern Christians would like about Paul,
Okay,
and
let's hear it.
it's not none of it's like the theological mumbo jumbo. It's just like
Yeah.
if you followed Paul for a day, I think you'd really like him, and he'd really like you after he figured out what was going on with electricity. So,
Yeah.
but first of all, we've talked a lot in the past about how, as hard as it is to have faith as a modern,
Hmm.
sometimes I defiantly decide to keep mine. And I defiantly decide that some stories matter, and that, for me at least, I need to re mythologize in some ways to go forward. Like, I
Yeah.
just actually need this simple story of God loving me and being my parent, and here's the evidence of that through Jesus to live well. Not just to go
Yeah.
on, but to like treat other people well. It's like my motivation for that, right?
Right.
So the reason I'm a Christian probably is not Jesus, it's Paul. And I know that sounds blasphemous, right?
Okay,
Like
that's
Jesus.
I'm on the flip side of that right now, so
Mhm.
I would like to
Said it.
hear
I said it
how.
for shock. I said it for shock value because, of
Okay.
course, Paul is not the promised Messiah of the Jews.
Oh,
Paul doesn't die for our sins. None of
right.
that. But the reason I've heard the story is Paul.
Okay.
It is
That makes
likely Paul. Um, and yes, his disciples went out into the world, but no one spread Christianity or had the success spreading Christianity in the Roman world like Paul. And it's
mm,
because of the things we talked about. He knew the culture. He's fluent in Greek before Hebrew. He probably is good at Hebrew like I am, as in he went to school and studied it and got as good as he could. But
hmm.
all of his quotes from the Bible are from the Greek Septuagint, and all, like the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible is what Paul says. And he speaks Greek. He knows philosophy. He knows the poets. The way he talks about God as being transcendent, all powerful, and almost untouchable to humanity, and sending Jesus as a mediator is straight Greek philosophy. Yep.
So the sound is getting a little muffled.
Okay.
One sec.
Mm, my sound?
Your sound.
Okay. How's it now? Let me pull it closer. How's
Yeah,
that? Is
that's
that
much
better?
better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll probably have to crank up the first half of, or first little bit.
It was just it started like 30 seconds ago, and then
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Something. Oh, I'm nerding out a little bit. Something cool about this software is it records two audio tracks. So, like, if one person's speaking softer or their mic is set different, you can balance it out so like it's perfect when in post edit.
Oh, that's really nice.
It is because, at least for me, the problem I've always had is like I have a mic system and Eric at a drum set, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
make it even, and it's really hard to do. So,
Yeah.
okay, so
Sorry I cut you off. Hope you didn't
oh
lose
no,
your train of
we used
thought.
to. I have to shut. I have to shut Messenger off, or
Yeah.
my team is gonna text a million times. Okay, so yeah, so Paul is probably the reason that most of us have heard the Jesus story, and that just is what it is. Like he
Yeah.
literally took three missionary trips farther west each time. Even more than that, he's the one that pushed that to be Christian you don't have to be all that Jewish, and he set up
Yeah.
Gentile communities. The disciples of Jesus very much seem to at least start out as understanding that they're the Messiah movement within Judaism. And so if you're going to be a follower of the way, you're also going to be Jewish.
Mm.
Like, that famous story where Peter's on the roof and the sheep comes
Yes.
down with all the animals, and like
Yes.
I think that's the writer of Acts way of showing you Like not just telling you, but showing you that Paul's opinion's right and is going to win the day. But I think it's a
Yeah.
living argument when that text is written. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of like, this might blow your mind a little bit, but it's kind of like when John the Baptist comes up to Jesus and says, I'm not fit to tie his sandal. From now on, you must increase and I must decrease. I think that's actually because they were both very popular movements that people saw in competition. And so you
Mm,
have the writer cleaning it up as, no, very clearly, John said this, right?
okay.
So I think the story of Peter finally accepting Gentiles is really a story about Paul winning, like that debate.
Mm,
But for you and me, that means we are pulled in as non-Jews. Like you know, Paul would say we're grafted into Judaism through Jesus, but we're a Gentile expression of the Christian faith. Does that make sense?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Reason two why I think most modern Christians would like Paul. He's one of the only men to admit that he was completely wrong. Like that I
He
know of.
did?
Yeah.
Where?
You
Where?
know how you know how most guys, even when they're wrong, will find a way to explain it away, or they'll
Yeah.
say, "I'm sorry," but right?
But here's why I was
Um,
still right.
yeah, yeah.
Why
I
I did
mean,
it.
Paul's story, like if you watch The Chosen and there's that group of Pharisees hunting down the Jesus movement, that's Paul's movement. He's like one of those guys
Yeah.
in the like Pharisaic outfit saying
Right.
this guy's got to go, right?
Yeah.
He's traveling around hunting down people. I think a while back you and I were talking and I said that sometimes the biblical characters are worse than us and that gives me hope. Like I
Yeah.
disagree with a lot of people, but I'm not trying to throw anyone in jail or have them murdered, So
Right.
that's like point for my sad life, right? But
Right.
you know, I think the story there's one in Galatians and there's one in Philippians where and then the story is like in Acts 9 where Paul says he completely changed his opinion about the Jesus movement because he encountered Jesus.
Jesus.
The
On the
story
road.
in Acts says that he was blinded and the voice of Jesus said, "Why are you persecuting me?" And to us, we're like, "Why are you picking on me?" To them, persecution is like what happened to the Maccabees by Antiochus. So, I mean, to them, persecution is a loaded word of why are you trying to murder me for my faith? Right?
Yeah.
And Jesus says, you're persecuting me, not my followers. And Paul it completely turns around. One of the best scholars of Paul in the last 50 years, Dunn, wrote a book called The Apostle of the Heart Set Free. The idea being he was so closed off to this movement and angered by it and thought it was a problem to be rooted out.
Yeah.
He really spent his life, I think, feeling terrible about it and trying to make amends.
Yeah.
You
He
know?
spent the rest of his life doing the complete opposite. And if you're thinking about like a true apology, like true apology is changing your mind and your behavior.
Yes.
So, you know,
Yes. I mean, repentance,
yeah.
teshuva in Hebrew or metanoia in Greek, literally means to change your mind,
Yeah.
or teshuva in Hebrew is like turn around from what you
Yeah.
were doing. So Paul turns around and starts planting Jesus communities of Gentiles everywhere. And so no matter what he has to say about how those people should conduct themselves, he goes back to everyone in Jerusalem and says, I was wrong, to the degree that I think that's the reason they still hate him. Like the verdict's
Mhm.
not in on Paul in his lifetime, and they don't like him all that much. Jesus' own disciples don't like him all that much.
I mean, he was trying to hunt them down. It would be hard to
Yeah,
trust that guy.
I don't think they ever fully get over it. I think that's
Yeah.
why Peter and Paul don't seem to like each other, and I think
Mm.
that's why James and Paul come to a head. And I think that Paul's forever trying to make amends, but he really does say, I was wrong. And then, like, listen to in Philippians, listen to what he says. If any, this is Philippians like 3:5. He says, if anyone has reason to be confident in the flesh, that isn't like the works they've done as a human, I have more. Circumcised on the eighth day, member of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew born of Hebrews, as to the law, a Pharisee, as to zeal, a persecutor of the church, as to righteousness under the law, blameless. So he says, if anyone by the book and by the game they're playing in Jerusalem is justified, it's the way I was living. But then he says in verse 7, yet whatever gains I had, these I have come to regard as loss because of the Messiah, because of Christ. More than that, I regard everything as loss because of the surpassing value of knowing Messiah Jesus my Lord. For his sake I've suffered the loss of all things and regard them as rubbish, in order that I may gain Jesus Christ and be found in him, not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, the one that comes through faith in Christ, the righteousness from God based on faith. That's him right there saying, I was wrong about everything I thought. And I think for me personally, I start to identify with Paul because I came to a point in my life as someone that studies the Bible where I just want to be honest no matter what. Like it would be
Yeah.
easier for me to just still pastor and tell people what they want to hear. But
Mm-hmm.
I try to just be honest about my convictions, and to some degree, I know what it is to like work dumb jobs when you're qualified to do other things. I
Yeah.
know what it is to go from like the center of a religious system that's popular to just saying, I'm just gonna go tell the truth. And so
Yeah.
Paul like literally does a 180, and I think most people would respect him for that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think so too. Because ultimately, like, if you're a truth seeker, which
mhm.
I like to think most of us are, really do care about what the truth is. Like, even if we don't like something and it's
Yeah.
hard to accept, like, you still want to know what that truth is. And
Mhm.
so I think there's a respect that comes for people that ultimately are truth seekers.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think,
Yeah.
man, now more than ever, I think
Yeah.
what you said is so important. I
Yeah.
mean, how much would all of us like to just have someone speak the truth very clearly in a way that we couldn't deny it right now?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
yeah,
it's getting like just this day and age is so difficult to discern the truth anymore.
yeah,
Like with all the new stuff like AI and
yeah,
just levels of deception and everything. But
yeah. Oh,
and none
absolutely.
of that's new. Well, except for AI, but none of the other stuff is new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Politicians lying or leveraging religion to say that
Yeah.
they're right. Not me.
Yeah.
But okay, this is gonna be the tough one for you.
Okay.
Here's things I think most modern Christians would actually like about Paul. Number three, Paul's actually progressive, not regressive about women in his
Okay.
culture. In
That's
his
what I want to
culture.
know more about.
Okay,
Because
so first of all, the gang you see on the Chosen in the temple system studying Torah, notice there are no women.
yeah.
All those guys view their wives as property,
Yeah.
like they view their cattle. Okay,
Yes.
if you read the Mishnah's rules on how to treat your wife, you would be appalled.
Oh
Like
God.
it's
Oh no.
terrible.
Okay.
It's so terrible. They have entire sections of law code on when your wife has to sleep with you and when she is off the hook, of
Yeah.
what you can divorce your wife for and what you can't, what to do if she makes you a bad sandwich. I mean,
Oh my God.
it's absurd. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. And Christianity as a whole movement, it breaks down Gentile and Greek, male and female, like Paul's own words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Paul comes out of this setting where they literally viewed women as property and had no problem if you had more than one wife and this and that.
Yeah.
And he seems to actually be progressive in what the roles in the household should be. I don't know that the passage in Ephesians is by Paul. But
Yeah.
if we play the devil's advocate and say, okay, mainstream Christianity's complete assumption that Paul wrote everything that the Bible says Paul wrote, I don't think he did, but
Yeah.
let's say he did, that passage is more progressive in its time than regressive. The place you get into trouble is if you view scripture as being zapped from the heavens and not by a human author.
I can see that.
Like if you understand it's by a human author, it's
Right.
a click forward, but we went to here and we need to get to here, right?
Yeah.
If it's like God zapped this book for all time from the heavens, and this is like women's role and this is
Right.
man's role,
Right.
then you have all sorts of problems, which I would
Oh
argue
yeah.
the evangelical church like does, you
Because
know?
yeah, now it's coming from like the highest being in the universe,
Yeah,
and he's not
yeah.
supposed to change, so,
Yeah,
you
but I
know.
mean that's why I'm fundamentally not a pastor anymore. I don't think
Yeah.
God's right text. I think we do that.
Yeah.
And we're considering God and we're talking about evidence of God that we've seen and we're trying to convey it, but it's this idea that God inspired human authors to write exactly the truth lands you in a whole bunch of trouble.
Yeah.
Not just modern sensibilities, just things like whether or not the earth is flat or the universe has three tiers or there are demons behind every corner or
Yes.
when you're sick you're being cursed. I mean, the whole
Right.
biblical worldview can't be taken as God writing capital T truth, you know? Um,
Yeah. I
but
agree
okay,
1000%.
but like put all that on the shelf and
Yeah.
say, okay, if the typical Pharisaic Jew thinks women are property and they have all these rules for what women ought to be doing and they're super oppressive,
Yeah.
Paul makes women leaders in his Jesus communities. Like when we look at the names of people he lists off that are his point people, there are women in the list and they're leading. Paul also, where I would say he's more progressive, should be saved for like when we get into that Ephesians passage.
Okay.
Like it's not as simple as wives submit to your husbands. It's everything that comes after it. And then there's
Okay.
another layer of how he's pulling the Old Testament forward and what he's doing with it. And I've never heard a pastor that can like punch their way out of a paper bag teach that passage. So like it's
I'm very
more
interested in that. So,
I stylistically don't think Paul wrote it. It would be like
yeah.
if you read the Texan Rock blog
Yeah.
and then went and read a John Piper sermon, you'd be like, this is not the same dude, right? That's scholars don't think Paul wrote it. But if we say Paul wrote it because it says Paul, an apostle of Christ at the beginning, which they did all the time, like
Yeah.
they constantly will rip another guy's name to bolster their own writing.
Okay.
But if we say Paul wrote it, it's still more progressive based on like his like group, you know?
Yeah, and like his
Yep.
thoughts and what he was teaching other people who would write in his style.
Yeah. So I don't think you would like Paul as far as like he would never enter a conversation being as progressive as you want him to be, but he
Yeah.
lived 2,000 years ago.
Right.
I mean, 50 years ago in this country, people were debating like whether people could have, you know, interracial relationships.
Right.
That's where we were, right?
Right.
50 years ago.
Right.
50 years
And
ago, people would have told you to work in the home while your husband went off to work in
yes.
this country.
Yes.
How does all
Right.
that hit you? What do you think? Or push back, whatever you want.
Um no, I mean, I think I'm tracking with you like so far. Um I don't have a whole lot of pushback yet, just more like how do you guys how do you scholars know what clues you in that this is not Paul? You know what I mean? Like,
You have to study Greek for 10 years. You have to read a
oh god.
lot.
Okay.
You have to read like a ton of it, but
Okay.
you can pick up English writing and very quickly tell one author from another. And
Yeah.
the genres are the same. You have a letter, you have a Roman letter, and they're going to follow a very very similar format. But Paul stylistically is like a snowball writer. He gets excited and he won't end a sentence. He'll go on and on and on and on and on.
Oh,
He'll like
yeah, I
ramble.
really, that annoys me about him because I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
it feels like a word salad by the time you're done, like with his sentence.
yeah,
You're like, what did you even just say?
yeah, yeah. And he's there are passages in Paul that you can give to like a New Testament student to freak him out, where there's not a period for like a page, and it's like, ugh, right?
Yeah.
And like other authors write like that. Like Philo's like that. Philo of Alexandria is some of the hardest Greek you'll ever come across. And
Okay.
if you put Philo next to someone claiming to be Philo, you'd be like, no, right? And
It's
so
not long
that's
enough.
where scholars start. It's mainly stylistic.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to play the devil's advocate and just assume everything a conservative would want to assume, though. When we look at that passage, I'm just going to say, let's say Paul wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we actually have to undo is a much bigger problem. And that's the problem of inspiration, of blanket assumptions that when something says someone wrote it. You have Psalms that say David wrote this. You have
Yeah.
Proverbs that say Solomon wrote this. But the reality is they love to take good literature and attach it to a name because it brings it up in status. And they love to collect literature under a name, right? And
Yeah.
so,
I don't think, like, well, I was never told that. Like, it was only within the last couple of years that
yeah.
I, like, became aware that that was what had happened.
Hmm.
But I spent most of my life thinking, yeah, David wrote all the Psalms and Solomon wrote everything in Song of Song. You know what I mean?
Me too. You could have done an MDiv in seminary and still not learned that. It wasn't until it
Yeah.
wasn't until I got to like a critical program
Yeah.
where I learned more about ancient culture and ancient literature in general and like how it ticks.
Yeah.
Um, and it it to me it's allowed me to just hold the whole thing loosely and be like,
Yeah.
okay, got an ancient author here.
Right.
They're gonna tell me
Right.
they're gonna tell me something about God and they're gonna use Jewish stories to do it, and I want to see, is it beautiful? Is it
Yeah.
helpful? Can I leverage it in a way that helps my life? And sometimes
Yeah.
I can't. Sometimes I can't, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it when I think about, the nuances there of like culture and just
Hmm.
group thought, like this is how everyone thought, this is how their society ran. It's different. It's not
Yeah,
as progressed as we are now.
yeah,
And, just kind of like you said, holding it loosely, not holding all of this against them, like, well, you're just evil now because you didn't have this all figured out when you were alive.
yeah.
Like we all have like had grandparents who had like a leg in two worlds. Like the
You
world we
bet.
live in now is not the world we grew up in. It's
Yeah,
like we're the bridge to like this future, and our grandparents, while they have maybe progressed in some ways with us, like they might still hold on to some of those like things that they were grew up with, their earliest way of being, I guess. Like
that's a great
it's
way to think about it.
hard to let that go. And so I'm trying to bring that to Paul when he is saying things I'm like, that's really messed up. you know?
Hard. That's such a great image as a bridge because as a
Hmm.
person that's trying to live out your faith, you
Yeah.
not only want to be a bridge to people in saying it's actually way more complex than
Yeah.
just you thinking that I assume everything that's written in this book is like literally true. And it's way more complex than it all even being equally good literature
Yeah.
or helpful for faith in Jesus, like all of that. And then on the back end, you have this entire evangelical machine that's decided not to think about any of that.
Yeah.
And generally, people encounter that first.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very difficult. It is very difficult. Um, I think, though, those are the pieces on the board. And that sometimes Paul gets blamed, and what we're really mad at is blanket evangelical assumptions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That really does make me mad. The blanket
I,
event.
and
Just the way that I've been taught to look at Paul my whole life.
yeah,
And when I actually read it now, I'm like, I only have half of the information I need. I don't have the other half of his letters. I don't
yeah,
have what he was even responding to. I
yeah,
have a very poor view or understanding of the culture he was in. All of that just forms a much clearer, better picture than just a list of rules that we now have to follow, whether they make sense to us or not. Like just obey because this is the hand of God wrote this
you
through this
bet.
man, you know.
There's just some basic things too that I learned that no one taught me when I was even studying the Bible to be a pastor, and it's just like no one taught me that the letters of Paul were written before the Gospels predominantly. And a lot of times when the Gospels are theological, it's Paul's thoughts being retrojected into them, especially in John. No one taught me that in the Bible, Paul's letters are under the name of Paul and then in order from longest to shortest. So you think he wrote them in that order, but he did not. And so, like Galatians, Paul's like a hothead. He's also young, and I didn't
Uh,
know that, right? I was like, "Geez, dude, calm down." But like when I think about, okay, so when I think about my own little life in
yeah,
ministry, when I was like a 25-year-old students pastor, I had unrealistic expectations of students. I had unrealistic expectations of family systems. I was harsher than I needed to be. I was not gentle enough.
yeah,
Um, I I needed wisdom and to grow up in a whole lot of ways. I bet that's true for Paul too, because he's a
yeah,
dude. He's like a person. You know,
yeah,
I mean, he's not. When I look at the way he's writing to the Corinthians or the Romans, it's very different, and
yeah,
that's something that no one ever taught me. You know,
yeah.
um, I think that if you got to walk in and talk to Paul when he was like in prison and just hang out for a while, you'd really like his personality. Like his letters are very much Roman letters to communities addressing specific issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was very culturally savvy. I think that he was very funny. I think that
Mm-hmm.
he liked to be a rock in people's shoes. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't get thrown in prison and then over time have the guards like you enough to like let you go. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I think he was super super not even charismatic, just authentic and fun. And that doesn't always come through in a letter where he's like
yeah,
addressing all the weird things the Corinthians are trying to pass off as normal, you know?
yeah,
But but I think a similar thing happened, like I said, when I read enough Jesus and then when I read enough Paul, I was like, oh, he's really, really funny. And he's really
yeah,
like setting this up and he's really um super sharp, you
yeah,
know. He's humble and sometimes self-denigrating, honestly. And I like that I don't think he ever got over his shit. I don't think he ever came to a place where he got over the mistakes he made. I don't.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's been all sorts of speculation about like what the thorn is in his side, you
Yeah,
know, that he prays that God will remove. And I don't know what any of that stuff is, but I see someone that was immensely struggling, both spiritually and psychologically, to forgive himself.
mm,
And I don't think that comes across when you read a letter and he's trying to give
right,
advice because you feel
right,
like he's like pointing a finger at you.
yeah.
And but I think if you hung out with him for a day, the dominant thing that would come across is like, yeah, I was a train wreck and now I'm not and I'm trying to help. You
Yeah,
know? Does that
that
make sense?
that would make me like him a lot more. That's a lot more relatable and
Mhm.
like, um, yeah, like that kind of person is a likable person. So,
Yeah.
um,
Okay, I got a couple more. You ready?
okay.
All
Yes.
right. Things I think most modern Christians would like about Paul. I haven't heard any other writer in the Bible articulate that idolatry is the core problem, and I think he's right. Like in, like he will consistently go and debate with people in pagan cities that you set up a created thing and you worship it as God, and it causes every problem you have in your life and in your community. And I think that's true. I think in this country we
Hmm.
worship power, sex, money, and war. Those are the gods of the American empire, and it doesn't take much proving. Like I don't need to make a case for that. It's an
Yeah.
inverted order, you know?
Well, and don't we also worship like self-efficiency and like not needing
Hmm.
anybody else and like just doing whatever is right, like in our
Yeah.
own eyes? Like I feel like
Hmm.
that's another big one, you know?
Yeah, like independence at the cost of everyone else, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. When I look at my own life, though, like in seasons where I'm not as healthy as I want to be, what I've done is I've made something that might even be a good created thing the like God that I'm worshiping or pursuing. And I
Yeah.
don't think that ever goes away. I think that's a
Yeah.
constant human tendency, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It does.
Um, I think the other thing, this isn't something that I think will make you like Paul so much as it unlocks Paul. And N.T. Wright is the scholar that has really tried to help people understand this gently because he knows that it's basically it didn't come true. Paul
Okay.
thinks the world's going to end like next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like actually,
Yeah.
I would argue every writer of the New Testament letters thinks the world's over like next month.
Yeah.
And
I've
for
heard that.
Paul, there's this small spiritual window between the resurrection of Jesus and when the world ends, and he's bringing as many Gentiles into the people of God as he can. That's why he's so driven, fanatical, and like sometimes abrasive. He thinks it's like very serious and he's very convinced of it. Um, the problem with that is like that didn't happen. So like he's a human writer. They're all human writers.
Do you mean the end of the world didn't happen? Okay. Yeah. So he
Yeah,
thought it would and then it didn't. And okay.
I don't think any of them in like theological circles they call the last 2000 years the age of the church.
Okay.
Which is just a great way of saying the world didn't end after all.
The world did not end.
Yeah.
The world as they knew it ended, but
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But you have all this apocalyptic literature laced through the New Testament about God intervening in history and setting everything to rights. I don't think
yeah.
they ever planned on that being 2,000 years later, or literally
No.
God knows how history will go,
Hmm.
or whether, whether we all have to go through death before we see any kind of renewed earth. We don't know. We don't have answers to any of
No.
that, right?
No.
And Paul has no idea that like 2,000 years of history are going to go on after his life,
Yeah.
and it allows me to cut him a break. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like it's just an interesting thing about him that no one ever told me.
I feel like there was a question I wanted to ask you about that. Now I'm trying to remember what it was.
No
Um,
problem. Take your time, and I can edit out any like gap where you're thinking. So.
okay. Um, like in his worldview, like
Mhm.
what what was his conception of like he's bringing all these Gentiles in? Is it because of his view of salvation? Like they're these people are going to be saved from something? Like in his view, like what did he think Jesus did on the cross?
Yep.
Um, because I've heard that there's been like different major like beliefs about that, and
Mm.
penal substitutionary atonement is now the
Yeah.
dominant one. But
Yeah.
like in the past, that wasn't maybe necessarily the
Yep.
primary thought.
First of
So,
all, for Paul, let's talk about for Paul, and then let's talk about like how do you hold faith as a modern, right?
okay.
So for Paul, he introduces this is my least favorite thing about Paul. He
Okay.
not only introduces the idea that basically everyone's damned except followers of Jesus, and he's a little iffy on what happens to the Jews, right? Like
Okay.
people have debated in Romans where he talks about the the Jewish people forever, like till the sun
Okay.
comes down. Um, his view is that Jesus dies as a Passover lamb, and he uses a
Okay.
lot of Exodus in imagery. So like
Okay.
Jesus dies as a Passover lamb to prevent God from taking out his wrath on believers, right? That is his view. It's also the
Okay.
view it's also the view of like most of the New Testament writers, you know,
So
pause.
to us, wrath, like God's wrath means hell, right?
Mhm.
It was that the same view that they had?
Well, first of all, hell's a moving target.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if you're
Yeah.
gonna go to hell, go to hell in the Old Testament where it's just like a gray nether gloom area.
Right.
When they meet the
Everyone
Greeks,
goes there.
yeah, when they meet the Greeks, hell gets really creative. And
Yeah.
then
Right.
most most of our views of hell today
Or
come from
like
like
Dante's
Dante's
Inferno.
Inferno. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so, a theologian proper like that uh Wes Huff guy or Hoff guy or whatever will like um, say, and you've heard this party line, that hell is like eternal separation from God, and they'll try to
Yes.
water that down. Like, it'll be
Yeah.
bad. We just don't know if it'll be flames and like this or that. I, I don't, I don't philosophically know what to do with the idea that billions of humans are created and like I don't know, a few million are saved, and like
Yeah.
that was their plan for the world.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I'm much more comfortable leaving all that to God than I think
Hmm.
Testament writers are.
Yeah.
And I'm much more comfortable with leaving like other conceptions of God as like living expressions. Um,
Okay.
I'm
What
more of
what
a
does
mis-
it mean to be the living expression?
I'm more of a Mr. Rogers theologian as far as like
Okay.
I'm a Christian. That's my heart language for talking and about and naming God. But I'm fascinated by like Buddhism, or
Okay.
like I'm fascinated by world religions, and I don't shut the door on anyone that isn't in my tradition.
Yeah.
Probably another reason I'm not a pastor anymore.
Yeah.
But for me, in my life, like that's what I can speak to. The imagery of Passover lamb is really important to me
Hmm.
because I have things from my past I can never undo. And there's nothing I
Mm.
can do about it. There's nothing I can do to go back and stop words from coming out of my mouth or stop decisions from being made. And they're things that either break the world because I did something I knew was wrong and I did it anyways because it was fun or I thought it would be the best thing. Or they're things I by rights should have done to heal the house of the world and I stood by and did nothing.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can't fix any of it, and it really is a burden to me. Like, I get when Paul has guilt and shame that won't go away. The imagery of a Passover lamb is powerful to me. Because, like, by rights, I don't even need God to destroy me. I've kind of destroyed myself or contributed
Yeah.
to destroying the world. And in some way, God is choosing to pass me over and to treat me kindly and good. I mean, to the point of dying on my behalf. That's a powerful image. And it's such a powerful image that it inspires me to be good and as virtuous as I can be. Does it make sense?
Yes. I was going to ask you to explain a little more of the image of the Passover lamb because I think that
Mhm.
sometimes in Christianity, those dots are not as strong as they could be.
Yeah.
Like, I think we tend to think more about, okay, like, say Easter is like tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The
okay,
Passover.
so yeah, so this is
The
about just God's wrath turning away, and we don't really connect. Like, I mean, even though we have like lambs on our Easter cards and make
oh
make
no,
a really scary lamb cake or whatever.
it's so powerful and so important, and I suggest whatever your view is of atonement, like Jesus died for my sins, or God is my forever friend now because Jesus died for me, and the like dots don't connect. You're like, how would that even fix anything,
Yeah,
right? Passover is such an important image. Jesus enters the city of Jerusalem on Lamb Selection Day, and the imagery of the Passover lamb comes from Exodus when people were slaves in Egypt, and the idea was you took a lamb and you let it live in your house with your family and with your kids, and you played with it, and it was cute and cuddly, and it was innocent, and it didn't deserve any bad at all ever because it's a beautiful little lamb. I don't know, we'll call him Lucky. And yeah, then on Passover, you sacrifice it and you take its blood and you spread it over the doorway. And in Shemot, in Exodus, it says that when the destroyer comes to kill the firstborn of Egypt because of Pharaoh's hardness of heart, God will pass over the Hebrew people, right? Or anyone that believed in the right and spread lamb's blood over their door was protected. Now look at that imagery in light of Jesus. I mean, John's the greatest expression of this. Like the creator enters the painting the masterpiece that he made. No one
yeah,
recognizes him. He lives a sinless life that is good and beautiful, and he deserves no harm, and he harms no one, and he's brutally executed. And the
yeah.
idea is whatever evil is in the world that God's fighting against passes you over. You don't get the evil you deserve for the evil you did.
Yeah,
Like that's beautiful.
that is beautiful. And I
Yeah.
like that better than just like the blanket sin because sin, I don't feel like that is, it covers it. Like it doesn't really bring it home sometimes, I think. I think it's
Sin
like
sounds very
overused.
much yeah, sin sounds very much like a Sunday school lady telling you that you were
Yeah.
wrong or you did something
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
And less like I hardly even use the term sin with people. I usually say we've all done things that break the world and that have
I
broken
like that.
ourselves.
I like that a
And
lot better because we all
um
have
mhm.
and we all know it when we hear that.
Yeah. And it's more serious than anyone wants to admit. So there's like the little things we do that was like that wasn't right. But then
Yeah.
there's like the top five everyone has that they can't undo. And they're the things that as a full grown adult you'll like lay in your bed and remember. And there's nothing you can do. Like there's nothing you can do to
Yeah.
fix any of it. You
Yeah.
know? And I think that like there it's very very easy to point fingers at like the people and powers that are breaking the world right now,
Yeah.
but it's way more honest to own that we break the world too and
Yeah.
that we're broken too, right? And so
Right.
Passover is a really powerful image. The connection between Passover and Jesus' death, guess who makes it? Paul. Yeah.
Paul does. All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. No one ever taught me that either. NT Wright taught me
Yeah.
that. Like just reading
That's
NT
cool.
Wright was like Paul's entire framing of the Jesus story is the Exodus, and there's an Exodus from human sin, and it's back written into the Gospels. So I mean, you know,
That's cool.
yeah. The last reason I think most Christian minds believe Paul. What kind of dog do you have?
I have three. That
Three?
one's the Australian Shepherd.
Oh, they're really
I'm
smart.
sorry. Yeah. He's
That's okay.
smart until he's not smart.
Yeah.
So,
I think the last reason most of us would like Paul is that everyone liked Paul who met him. Like
yeah.
all of the communities he writes to, he writes about how great the relationships are and how strong the relational bonds were. And he has people like all across the Roman Empire willing to do things that he asks them to do. And I think that it speaks to his character way more than hopping into a letter where like when he writes Galatians, he's mad at people that have gone into this like baby church that he planted and told them you're not saved unless you're Jewish and you need to be circumcised and follow these food laws or none of it counts. That's why he's so mad in the book of Galatians. So yeah, he's super ticked, but he's ticked because it's protective. It'd be like
Yeah.
if someone it'd be like if someone came it'd be like someone came to my kid Otto who's 13 and he's figuring out the world and
Hmm.
said, "You don't really count unless you do this and that," and gave him terrible advice. I'm
Yeah.
ticked, right?
Yeah.
That's the book of Galatians. Like that's what's
Me too.
happening. And so the the dominant picture we get is that except for religious people, kind of like Jesus, everyone seemed to like him. So I
Okay.
mean, there's that too. But
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
Okay. So I will like I will pick I'll pick like three problem passages and then we'll go from there next time. Like we'll do one
Okay.
of them. Do you want to do the Ephesians one right off the bat,
Sure.
or don't care?
No, we can. Go for it.
Okay.
Ephesians. Is it Ephesians 5:22? Is it that
Yeah.
one?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I made a list of like
Oh
all the
yeah.
ones I could find.
Oh, hold on.
Um,
Tell me your list, or
um,
you can just message it later.
I'll message it. Yeah, it's
We'll
fine.
just use your list. That sounds fun,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's way more collaborative. Like
Yeah.
when I when I like perform poetry with Eric, the rule I have is I give him no advice about what to play ever.
Yeah.
Then it's a true collaboration, and it's
Right.
always better than like my dumb suggestions. So just
Oh,
bring the
no.
things that are frustrating you, and we'll just talk about that. Okay?
Okay. Sounds
All right.
good.
Cool. Well, have a wonderful Easter weekend.
You too.
All right.
Bye.